scars of pain.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Presenting Our Presence. My name is Michelle Durocher. I'm from the Fishing Lake Métis Settlement, and at the university, I work in the president's office as the Executive Operations Coordinator. Presenting Our Presence, or POP, is our monthly vodcast at the U of A through the Office of the Vice Provost of Indigenous Programming and Research. And we are here to just talk to some really incredible Indigenous folks on campus and see what they're up to, the projects that mean something to them, their passions. And I'd like to turn it over today to my co-host for today, Florence Glanfield. Florence.
Thanks so much, Michelle. And I'm a citizen of the Métis Nation of Alberta, and I work here as the Vice Provost Indigenous Programming and Research, and I also serve as a professor of mathematics education. It's always an honor to sit together with our Indigenous colleagues at the University of Alberta. And POP does amplify the voices of the amazing Indigenous humans that work at this place. So I will now turn it over to our guests today to introduce themselves in the most comfortable way that it is for them. Thank you, Willow. Please go ahead.
Marcy, Florence, and Michelle, Tanshe, Kiwa, Willow, Dishinakashun. Hi, my name is Willow. I hope you're all doing well today. I am zooming in from Augustana Campus, located in Camrose, or Skinnesausapesis, as it's known in Cree, Stony Creek, a tributary of Battle River. And I am an assistant professor of English and Indigenous Studies at Augustana Campus. I've been here for about 3.5 years. But prior to that, my home communities are in Manitoba. So I'm a very proud citizen of the Métis Nation of Alberta. But my ancestral roots are back in Manitoba, connected to Red River through the Inkster, Sutherland, Cook, and Anderson families. But I'm part of a big network of Métis family and community in Manitoba. So other living relatives include Beaudries, Bouviers, Dufresnes, and many more. So yeah, I'm really delighted to be here with you both today.
Thanks, Willow. We're very excited to talk to you today and learn more about what you've been up to over at Augustana. I am a very proud Augustana alumni, so I'm really excited to hear about what you're doing out there and some of the ways you ended up at Augustana.
Yeah, thanks, Michelle. I can share a little bit about my journey getting here. So I was born in Manitoba, but grew up in Alberta in various communities. My dad, who's a very proud Cree Métis man, worked in oil and gas growing up. So like a lot of prairie kids, I grew up in different oil and gas towns. So Hinton, Fort McMurray, Fort Saskatchewan, Edmonton, and Calgary at different times. So I've been all over Alberta. And then when I finished up high school in the Edmonton area, I went and did my undergraduate degree at MacEwan, followed up by a master's degree on North Campus in the Department of English, before heading over to Montreal, Quebec to do my PhD at McGill. And I love Quebec. I loved being there. I loved the culture and community, but I really wanted to come home. And this amazing opportunity came up at the end of my PhD at the perfect timing to apply for a position at Augustana Campus of the University of Alberta. And I had never been to Augustana Campus, even though I'm a U Alberta alumna. And it was the heart of COVID, so I couldn't even come visit the campus for an interview. I did all my interviews over Zoom. Florence was on my interview committee, so I got to know Florence right off the bat. Yeah, and accepted the position without ever having visited Camrose or Augustana campus. So it was a little nerve-wracking the first day that I started, but it's been an awesome experience. I love being back in Alberta on the prairies, amongst, Métis and Cree relatives. It's been such a pleasure. Here at Augustana, I'm actually in our Indigenous student space today that I know a lot of our U of A community probably hasn't gotten the chance to see. It's called Wacodwin Lodge. And this is the community space. So I hang out here a lot during the school year with students, making ribbon skirts and doing beadwork and visiting with elders. It's just been the best experience. So 3.5 years in, I get to be in this space today talking to you because we don't have a lot of students on campus during the summer. So happy for the little bit of a break from teaching, but also looking forward to welcoming students back in a couple months.
Great, thanks, Willow. Yeah, I can't imagine what it was like going from McGill to Camrose in Augustana. That's a big switch. That's a pretty big switch. But I love that campus. I think it's beautiful. I think the area around Augustana is beautiful. And I know that that one is one of the things that we wanted to talk about today was some of the plant life, our plant relations. And there's a project that you've been working on for the last, how long did you say?
Basically, since I started here.
Since you started, okay. So yeah, we'd love to hear more about that. I think you mentioned that it's a Indigenous plant project. So yeah, would you mind telling us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, so maybe first I'll start by talking about this place a little bit more. We're in a really special location here in Camrose. So folks may be familiar with Battle River, which is a tributary of the North Saskatchewan. And the Battle River, which runs nearby this community, links us all the way to the Battlefords. So this is a really important trading route, community route historically. And of course, for those who might not know, the Battle River name comes from the kind of historic conflict between the Cree and the Blackfoot. And the Métis were all mixed up in that as well, historically too. And while it's not a existing settlement today, one of the Métis settlements in Alberta's history is just about 10 minutes from where I am now in Duhamel, and it was called the Lubicon settlement. And so Francois Gabriel Dumont and other families came from St. Albert in about the mid 1850s and a little later, and they settled down here along the shores of the Battle River, and they had river lots, and they were in community with their relatives in St. Albert and in Edmonton. And actually, this is really, really special. St. Thomas Church was built by the Métis. It is the only standing Métis building in its original location in Alberta, historic mission church specifically, I should say. So if you want to go check out a Métis church built in the Red River tradition, you can come down to Camrose and check that out. Today, it's not an operating church. It's been preserved by a historic society, and it's a museum. So people are welcome to come and visit. And there's also a cemetery, a Métis cemetery, located by that church. So there's this rich, rich history, not just for Métis folks, but for Blackfoot, Cree, Tsuut'ina, Stoney Nakoda folks, all in this area. It's a very, very rich historical area, and present day area too, of course. We're located about 45 minutes away from Maskwacis here in Camrose. So I knew this was a special place when I came here. I knew it was a special place, and one thing that really struck me when I arrived, and I came in the winter, but then the spring came and the summer came, and some folks on campus that I was working with, a friend of mine who actually works with you now, Florence, our friend Victoria, showed me a beautiful field of sage that was growing on the southeast corner of campus on a slope. Sage really likes a lot of sun, so it'll often grow on slopes where there's good drainage and lots of sunshine. And this was so special to me. many of us who are from various Indigenous nations of the prairies grow up smudging with sage. Our ancestors smudged with prairie sage, and we'll smudge together all of the time. Now, I just lit a smudge actually in the room here so that I would be surrounded by the smell of sage as I was talking. So I thought this was so amazing. But not everyone understands how special prairie sage is and how special this place is where we are located. In fact, if you're not familiar, you might even think sage is a weed, right? That's sometimes how we have a tendency of thinking about gardens and creating university spaces to look polished. Think of those green grass lawns that are so common on universities. And we often, get rid of native plant species in favor of sort of that more manicured Western aesthetic. And so when I saw this sage growing, and I thought, this is so powerful. This is such a powerful place with rich layers of history and culture and meaning. I want to help my campus better understand how special this sage is, how special and rich and deep the history of Indigenous peoples are in this particular place, in Stony Creek. So I applied for a campus sustainability grant, and folks who work at the U of A, go ahead and give that program a quick look up on your computer. It's an amazing program coming out of the Energy and Climate Action Office, and they are supporting all kinds of different sustainability projects across the University of Alberta's campuses. But not a lot of those projects have been through an Indigenous worldview of sustainability. And so that was something new I was kind of bringing to the table. And for me, when I think about what might Indigenous sustainability mean, it can't just be about protecting a specific plant or preserving a certain area. Because to me, sustainability, I think about sustainability on this land in this place. And I think about our ancestors who lived here in harmony with the land since time immemorial. And I think of their descendants who are still here living in this place and who will continue to be here moving into the future. So sustainability isn't just about the environment. It's also about culture. It's about people. It's about our relationships with the lands and waters that we live with. And that's something that sometimes gets lost in Western concepts of sustainability, which can often focus on actually separating relationships between the environment and humans. Think about how in the national park system in Canada, Indigenous peoples were moved off of national parks to preserve them, right? But Indigenous peoples weren't harming the parks. They weren't harming those lands. They actually had ways of living in harmony and in a good way with those lands. It's actually really only been in fairly recent settler history that we see the massive consequences of pollution, climate change, and destruction on these lands. So how can we be in better relationship, better harmony? That's what was kind of inspiring the project. I thought a lot about the idea of Wekotowin. I'm sitting in Wekotowin Lodge right now. So it's a Cree kinship worldview. And the name of this lodge was gifted to us by a Musqueam's community leader, Brian Wildcat, in ceremony. And I think that really imbibes the spirit of this place. And so building on that gift of Wekotowin, I was thinking, how can I extend that beyond this lodge space on our campus to other areas of our campus? How can we continue to think about the ways that humans, land, animals, plant relatives are all connected? And I successfully got this campus sustainability grant to start the project. Yeah.
Thank you, Willow. And I love all the teachings that you've shared, the historical pieces as well, to help all of us understand a little bit about Camrose and the history and the location and the relationship with all the nations. And I'm looking forward to now going to visit, because I understand that although it wasn't always easy, that you were able to navigate all of the, I'm going to say, university policies and practices that actually were barriers to this beautiful project, although the project had been funded by those same units. And I guess when I think about the journey that you went through for this beautiful project that's really going to be about teaching and teaching, and what I was thinking a lot about when you were talking is that there was a beautiful project in Dene territory about, it was called a Place Names Project. And I had a recent opportunity to visit with one of the knowledge keepers from that area, who were saying how names how places were given names, and that there would have been multiple names for a place given what your experience was in that place. And so different nations and tribes would have these differing names. So I was thinking about that as you were talking, even about the name of the Battle River, right? And there would have been a story with all of that, given the piece. But I'd love for you to say, where did the project end up? Like, have you completed it? Have you got the names in the way that you want it now? Because we could spend this time talking about navigating university policy, which is banana burning, or we could spend our time celebrating now what is visible to the human as they now explore and come to know Augustana Campus.
Yeah, thanks so much, Florence. So I'll start. I agree. I'm in celebration phase now. So I'm really excited to share with all of you where the project over the years has taken me and where I'm at now. Yeah, there were unexpected challenges along the way. And one of the challenges I'll note is that um, I don't speak any of my ancestral languages. My ancestors would have spoken Nehiawewen Cree, as well as Michif, the Métis language. But because of the legacy of residential schools in my family, my ancestors were not allowed to speak their language. So I know my great grandmother, Lizzie Inkster, who was a Swampy Cree and Métis woman, spoke her languages, but she was not allowed to speak those languages at school. So she did not pass on that fluency to my musha, my grandpa, and then on to my father. So I think a lot about the importance of reclaiming language. I'm in a very early start of that journey. So I thought this project could be part of that. And so language felt like a really central component. I love thinking about, again, talking about the history of this particular place. So many languages were spoken on this land. And now the default is one language, English. The university does most of its activities in English. And so this became a little bit tricky. A big part of the project was wanting to create interpretive signage in consultation with elders and knowledge keepers that would introduce people to plants as relatives, but with their traditional names in various languages as they would have been spoken in this place for thousands of years. But institutionally, we have a lot of anxiety about Indigenous languages, I learned, and specifically about putting Indigenous languages on signage or in any kind of long-term official kind of capacity. And so that was a big journey to kind of overcome that and continue to advocate for the importance of normalizing and using Indigenous languages, so that young Indigenous students who come to our campuses can see their ancestral languages represented, so community members can see themselves represented, and so that settler students and community members can be reminded that English is not the dominant language on this land historically, and that this is not English land. So that took some persuading, some big conversations. It slowed things down a little bit, but I'm really happy to say ultimately I was able to pursue this, and that I think actually in even pursuing this project, it instigated a larger conversation at the institution about using and incorporating Indigenous languages on an institutional level. So I'm part of a larger conversation now at the university about how can we do this better? How can we incorporate the languages of this land in the way we do things and make it normal, not something sort of strange or overwhelming or problematic, but actually just like a normal, accepted part of what we do here. So that being said, on the other end of the spectrum, incorporating, for anyone who's done language work, I was pretty naive going into this. I thought, oh, this is great. I'm going to learn some of my ancestral languages, some relatives' language. That's going to be awesome. Whew, it's a big undertaking. I had to go through a massive relational journey to get to the point of being able to create the interpretive signs that I created. So I worked with 7 elders and knowledge keepers over the course of this project, and had multiple meetings and interactions with most of them. And sometimes those were one-on-one consultations, and sometimes they were elders coming into campus and doing workshops, harvesting workshops and medicine teachings with students and other community members. I organized approximately 10 workshops and events around native plants and knowledges of medicine. And I say approximately because it just became what I was doing all of the time. It became a big part of my life to be thinking about plants, meeting with knowledge holders, elders, language speakers. And there was so much appetite, and people were so excited to be able to engage on this topic. And community was so excited to be able to learn more. Yeah, so a lot of consultation, a lot of visiting, a lot of talking, a lot of being together out on the land over a span of years. I'll just quickly note the campus sustainability grants are meant to be a 1-year project. So that was my own naivety. And thank you to the Office of Energy and Climate Action for being very kind and letting me take actually almost 3 years to complete my project, because we needed to slow down and do things in a good relational way. And ultimately, as of January 2025, we have now installed 7 interpretive signs across Augustana Campus, and they contain the names of various native species in Six-Kapowsin, the Blackfoot language, Nehiyawewen, the Cree language, and Southern Michif, one of the Métis languages. And so I'm so proud that we were able to do this. The teachings that are included on the signs are very introductory. They're very embodied. They invite people to smell the plant, pay attention to where it is growing. And yeah, it contain very introductory teachings. This is because something I learned along the journey, and that many of my friends and colleagues will already know, Indigenous knowledges can't just be shared in the way that we share Western knowledges. So as a researcher, a lot of what I do is learning things, writing things, publishing things. But Indigenous knowledges can't always be shared in that way. They need to be shared in a relational context. So the teachings that I share on the signs are very simple introductory teachings that I was given permission to share in this way with more people, but I learned a lot more than I was able to put on the signs or share with you today. But what I do invite visitors who are starting that journey with their plant relations, maybe by coming to Augustana Campus and going on this interpretive walk, um, is to take the next step if they want to learn more and consult with an elder, someone with plant knowledge, offer tobacco and ask to learn more. There are so many protocols and teachings around plants. So that is really a lifelong journey that you can go on if that's something that you want to do. And this walk is really just meant to be the first step, really to introduce people to perhaps thinking about plants as relatives for the first time ever.
So, Willow, it seems to me, so you talked about sustainability sort of from an Indigenous worldview or knowledge system approach. And it seems to me that this, while it was called a project, but this part of your journey was also sustaining you and sustaining who you, as you traveled back to this territory, to these lands, was part of I'm going to say, sustaining who you are. And I was thinking about your relationships and the notion of Wakotuan, the relationality, not only with the plants and the land, but also the languages and the humans and your ancestors. Like I just feel all of this woven together. So the notion of sustainability isn't just this physical notion either. It's part of our identity in a way. And what I heard is your identity as you're coming back to this territory. And I'd invite your comment or response to that wonder that this is the thread I heard.
Yeah, I absolutely resonate with the way that you described that. Uh, it was really hard to be away from my family and community and homeland when I was studying in Quebec. Even though it was a beautiful place and Montreal is the most wonderful city, I really felt homesick and heartsick in being away. And I also, as academics, this is something Indigenous academics face. You really don't get to choose where you work. You are lucky to get a position, a tenure track position if you can get one, and you take it wherever it is. So it was entirely, I mean, I think it was creator's presence in my life that I got to come back to my homeland. I never expected to be able to return to Alberta or even the prairies. That was not an expectation that I had when I started my PhD. And so that felt extremely sacred to me. And I feel an enormous responsibility. I want to clarify that doesn't feel like a burden. It doesn't feel heavy, but it's this relational responsibility I have, knowing that these are the lands that I come from. Even though this isn't my home community and I am from Manitoba, I am still working and living on the Métis homeland. And I'm still amongst relatives. And historically, our ancestors and relatives in this area, we were traveling all across the prairies, back and forth. And so I feel like I'm home. And in that, I want to be really grounded. I want to make sure that I'm giving back to my communities, that I'm helping to make the institution a more welcoming and inclusive space for our communities. I've said this before when I was helping consult on our braiding sweetgrass policy document. I want to see the University of Alberta become the premier location for Indigenous people to study in Canada. I just am so grateful and thankful to be here. Both the University of Alberta and this place, Camrose, this land, this place, really grateful to be here. And it's been really wonderful. This project allowed me to take a really community-oriented approach to a project, to give back, to remunerate elders appropriately for their fantastic knowledge and teachings, to engage students, to feed students, to hold events where I could feed students and visit with students and have a good time with students. That gave me so much joy, and made me really, really happy. So I don't know exactly what community engaged project I'm going to take up next, but I know that there will be something along the way, because it just feels like such an important part of our work, and an honor to be able to do that work.
Yeah, I'm going to jump in one more time, Michelle, and then I'll turn it over to you because I'm sure you're dying to ask something too. But what I just want to offer at the end too, Willow, is I'm so impressed with the number of languages you got, because I remember when you first started this, um, it was only going to be Cree, if I remember correctly. And what it shows and what it demonstrated when you talked about the number of different languages is that it was a community engaged and community led too. So who was in that community? Or all of these amazing speakers who shared these teachings, who gave you permission to share these teachings. And that so is powerful, because we do live in these places that have these layered histories. And there was no, and even though we can say treaties were signed in these years, it didn't remove the living of the humans in the places. And that's what your work is also reminding me of. Is so I look forward to seeing those signs, because that this is truly amazing. So thank you.
Michelle, can I intervene and ask, can I show you a picture of the signs?
That is what I was going to go in with, yeah. I was like, can you please share some of the I know we talked about that you had some images and stuff to share it, and just kind of if you have anything that kind of shows what the walk looks like, that would be
Sure.
really cool to share. Yeah.
Amazing. So I'll just describe this photo, and just so folks know, I do have permission to share this photo of my students. So this is a photo of the first sign on the plant walk that's now been installed, and in the image is myself. And then beside me is my current research assistant on this project, Taylor Soroka, who's a citizen of the Métis Nation of Saskatchewan. And then beside her, my previous research assistant on this project, Brianna Winnie-Andy, who is a citizen of Soto First Nation in BC. And this first sign, it's a little bit different than the signs that follow. I chose the trembling aspen and this location, which you can't see the trembling aspen behind me, but they are to the side, because this is always where it seemed the plant walks that we were having with knowledge holders kind of naturally seemed to start. So it felt like the right starting place. And the font is really small, so you can't see. You'll have to come out to Camrose to come take the walk and read the signs. But there is a description, kind of inviting people to participate, but also reminding them, please don't harvest the plants. If you don't know the proper protocol, don't pick them, but do reach out to an elder for guidance if you want to learn the proper protocols for harvesting. And so an addition that Taylor Soroka is working on right now is we are going to add a little link to the signs on a weatherproof sticker. so that folks, if they come across a sign that it isn't in the particular order, they can just go ahead and pull up a map for the tour on the Augustana Tour and Events page so that they can follow along. And I can actually show you a very simple version of that map as well. And it's up on Augustana Tour and Events page right now, if you would like to pull it up and have a look on your own screens at home in preparation for your walk.
Well, I remember doing a walk a few years ago.
Yes.
I think around this time of year. So I know where that aspen is, so I know where to start. Thank
That's
you.
that's right, Florence. Yes, I remember you joining us. And I think that walk was with my friend and an amazing knowledge holder, Natalie Pepin, who a lot of folks in our nation might be familiar with because she's taught us a lot about plants and about other things.
Thank you.
This is the plant walk if you're to take it. So you can see the little stars that note where a sign is located. The walk is accessible for all ages. You can absolutely bring little kids on the walk. I also chose to make sure that this designated walk is almost entirely on paved paths and there are no stairs. So it should be accessible to people, to most people. And of course, I add to very welcome to go off the beaten path. This is just a sort of introduction. It will maybe take about 20 to 30 minutes to complete, depending on your walking speed and how long you stay and reflect at each sign. But once you finish up the walk, there's so much more to see, both on campus, you can wander, but also across the street. You'll see the little street there marked 50th Street. Across that street is Jubilee Park, which Stony Creek runs through. And there's a lovely path that will take you along Stony Creek through a beautiful valley. And you will see many, many more native plant species and probably many animal relatives as well. Beavers, ducks, deer. It's a very abundant place, especially this time of year.
That is so cool. Thank you, Willow. It's funny you were saying, Florence said, "Oh, I know where that is because I know where that tree is." And for me, I'm like, "Oh, I know where that is because I recognize those buildings." That's,
Did you live on residence,
I
Michelle?
did. Yeah.
Yeah. So the
Yeah.
residence would have been behind me across
Yep.
this creek.
Yes, exactly. Across the ravine.
Yes.
There you go. Yes, thank you so much for sharing those photos and a little bit of acknowledgement of the amazing women who helped you get this project going. One of the things I wanted to reflect on is you were talking about the future, and you're not sure what your future will be in your next steps. What about this project? Is there more, like, is there a guide? It says self-guided. Are there any opportunities to make this more public, or what are the goals to finish off this project?
Yeah, that's such a wonderful question. For now, I don't have any more formal steps. I've spent all the money. I've written my final report. So my campus sustainability project is technically finished. That being said, of course, relationships don't end. So I do think this will be a lingering project that continues onward in a practical way. I know that I'm going to incorporate elements of this project and this walk in my own teaching, including in the upcoming year. So I teach an Introduction to Indigenous Studies course at Augustana, as well as an Indigenous storytelling course. And so I'm already thinking about ways that I can incorporate the walk and the signage and teachings about plant relations into my courses. I love introducing students to elements of our knowledges and cultures and communities that are celebratory and positive and living. They're both ancient, but they're also going to go into the future. Sometimes students in Indigenous studies courses are used to hearing a lot of really negative things about what it means to be Indigenous and what Indigenous life is like. And it is important that we acknowledge those hard things and those challenges. Things like residential schools and the 60s scoop and, the ongoing crisis within the foster care system. But I don't want that to be the only thing people know about us. And so I'm excited that I'm going to be able to incorporate this more land-based, embodied, interpretive, cultural activity with my students into the future.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's kind of what I was thinking, is that officially the project is done, but now you have this amazing resource on campus for everybody to enjoy. And so it wouldn't even have to be just courses that you teach, but if there's a way to encourage professors in other areas to kind of find ways, I'm thinking mostly in like the natural sciences kind of classroom settings, just to incorporate it, right? Because it's there and it's an incredible teaching, but it's also it bridges that thing of like we were saying, like before, I think you and I had this conversation about being seen in the past quite often, right? And it's like, well, no, we're here as well, and here are our teachings, here are things that mean something to us, and we're here to share it with you, and just come and be in this space, and that's part of the journey, and just kind of demystifying the that stuff as being like an other, right? So taking away that.
Yes, absolutely. Um, and there are many nations living on this land here together, including the Canadian nation. And so we need to be in relationship with each other in good ways. And we can't be in good relation if our settler friends and neighbors and family don't understand our Indigenous cultures, histories, sovereignty. And so I think that's a big part of the learning opportunity that I see being part of this project. I'll also note Augustana is a very interdisciplinary campus. So just on your note of folks working in sciences, we have a major here in sustainability, that some of my courses are incorporated in. And so what I love about Indigenous knowledge is we really explode the disciplinary silos of the Western institution. The things we do and the way we learn and the way we live, it impacts all of these areas: philosophy, environment, arts and culture. And so that's something I also hope is useful to my colleagues in a way we can share our teaching and be collaborative. Kind of whatever course you teach, I think there's something useful here for you in this project.
So I love this, Willow, because although our visiting is called Presenting Our Presence, this particular episode is also about making visible our presence, and our being the collective of Indigenous humans that have been in the place that is now called Camrose since time immemorial. And those knowledges that continue to exist. And the other piece is that those knowledges come from the place. Like, this is so profound. I'm really conscious that we are probably near the end of our time. I want to express my deepest gratitude and respect for who you are as a colleague, as an amazing human, and for what you're bringing to this place, this institution called the University of Alberta. And so much gratitude and love to you for being with us today. I'll turn it over to Michelle, and then we'll invite you to have the final words, Willow.
Thanks, Florence. You took the words right out of my mouth. Yeah, thank you so much, Willow. as I mentioned at the top of this, I am an alumna from Augustana, and so I also am just filled with pride that this is happening on that campus. And I think I can't wait to go back there and have new experiences in a place that has so many memories. So hi, thank you so much.
Oh, thank you so much, Michelle. That means so much to me. We are a small campus, but the Indigenous alumni who have come through Augustana are so involved and so present here. So huge shout out to all the Indigenous alumni. You worked really hard. A decade ago, we didn't have this space that I'm in now. So every alumni, every elder who's come to campus, every Indigenous teacher that's come to campus leaves their mark and shapes this place in a better way. So my enormous gratitude to all of the Indigenous folks who have come here before me and all of the good work that they've done. I just want to say give a final invitation to those listening. Please do come. It's about an hour drive for those of you who are in central Edmonton. Come down to Camrose, visit our campus, take the walk. You can find the map on Augustana's tours and events page. Join us, be in relationship with us. We're so excited to make more connections and meet more people. Thank you so much, Florence and Michelle, for including me today. My heart's filled with a lot of gratitude and love as well. Marcy.